Hello my dear students. So in our previous class, we started understanding about Raman spectroscopy. So we had a brief introduction about what is meant by Raman spectroscopy. So Raman spectroscopy determines vibrational and rotational level spacings from the energy which shifts the scattered light. So the Raman spectroscopy deals with the scattering of light and not with its absorption. And next, we understand the theory of Raman spectroscopy. That is, when a beam of monochromatic radiation passes through a transparent medium, the photons of energy, that is h nu, collide with the molecules of the medium and a part of light is scattered. So the scattered light is measured at right angles. So we distinguished the scattering of light into two different cases. So one was Rayleigh scattering. So Rayleigh scattering means when the collision are perfectly elastic, we are going to find Rayleigh scattering. Hence the scattered photons will have same frequency and same energy as that of incident light. So such a scattering is called as Rayleigh scattering. Whereas the Raman scattering, so here the scattered light will have photons of either lower energy or higher energy than the incident photon. So such a scattering is called as Raman scattering. So we also discussed about the intensity of Stokes and anti-Stokes lines and the Raman shift. The scattered light may have higher or lower frequency than the incident light due to Raman effect. So Raman shift is the difference in frequency or wave number between the incident and scattered light. So this is where we stopped in our previous class, and in this session, so let us understand or let us see what is meant by polarizability and Raman spectrum. So this is a classical theory. So polarizability and Raman spectrum could be explained with the help of a classical theory. So let us imagine an experimental condition, that is when an electric field, say for example E is a electric field, is applied to a molecule, so its charge distribution is distorted. So when an electric field is applied to a molecule, definitely the charge is going to get distorted. That means it is going to get disturbed or change. What happens at this situation? So this induces a dipole moment, and we denote the dipole moment as mu in the molecule. There is a dipole moment is observed. When an electric field is applied to a molecule, the change in the distribution is observed, and this induces a dipole moment in the molecule. The magnitude of the induced dipole moment varies linearly with the strength of the electric field. Okay, so this is very important. So the magnitude of the induced dipole moment, it varies linearly with the strength of the electric field. So therefore the proportionality constant alpha is called as polarizability of the molecule. So according to classical theory, the electric field E associated with an electromagnetic radiation induces a dipole moment mu in the molecule. So now I am going to define mu. Mu is equals to alpha E, where E is the electric field associated with the electromagnetic radiation and alpha is called as the polarizability of the molecule. So alpha is a measure of how easy it is to distort the charge distribution of the molecule. So that is what is called polarizability of a molecule. It measures how easily we can distort the charge distribution. And also alpha depends on the direction of the electric vector relative to the axis of the molecule. That is, it is a tensor quantity. So with this, we can solve an equation for an oscillating dipole. So the dipole moment is represented as mu is equals to alpha naught E naught sine 2 pi mu t. So this is what is called as Rayleigh's line. And here, so this expression, it speaks about Stokes line, and here, so this represents the anti-Stokes lines. Thus, the oscillating dipole has three components. So what are those three components? With frequency mu minus mu m, with frequency nu plus nu m. If the change in polarizability, that is the two components with frequency nu minus nu m and nu plus nu m disappear, and only the component with frequency nu is obtained, which is Rayleigh's line, and it is represented as delta alpha divided by delta q, which is equals to 0. Therefore, if the molecule is polarizable, then the scattered light contains three distinct frequency components. So what are those three distinct frequency components? So the first one is Rayleigh's line with frequency which is same as incident frequency, and Stokes line with frequency nu minus nu m, where nu is the incident frequency, and anti-Stokes line with frequency nu plus nu m. So these are the three different or distinct frequency components which we are going to observe when a molecule is polarizable. Whereas the homonuclear molecules like nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, etc., which are IR active, that is infrared active, or infrared inactive due to the absence of change in dipole moment, are Raman active. Usually, so these homonuclear molecules, so they are IR inactive. That is because of the absence of change in dipole moment, whereas they are Raman active. That is because these molecules are polarizable, and hence the electromagnetic radiation can induce a dipole moment in them. So next, let us understand about rotational Raman spectrum. So all linear molecules are anisotropically polarizable, and they can give a rotational Raman spectrum. Even the molecules such as oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, that is homonuclear molecules, which do not have a pure rotational spectrum, so they are anisotropically polarizable, and they will give a rotational Raman spectrum. The selection rule for pure rotational Raman spectrum is delta alpha, which is not equal to 0, and delta j is equals to 0 or plus or minus 2. So in this, the energy of the rotational energy levels in terms of wave number also can be given. So in terms of wave number, nu bar, which is equals to bj into j plus 1, where delta j is equals to plus 2, and the transitions can be from j is equals to 0 to 2, j is equals to 1 to 3, and j is equals to 2 to 4, etc. It goes on. So for this transition, the energy absorbed will be equal to, so delta nu bar, which is equals to b into j plus 2 into j plus 2 plus 1 minus bj into j plus 1. So we can simplify this. So based on the terms of wave number, what I have expressed just now, so we can simplify this, and further, so we are going to get bj square plus 3bj plus 2bj plus 6b minus bj square minus bj. So upon further simplification, so b can be taken as common, and B into 4j plus 6, where j is equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Suppose if j is equals to 0, then delta nu bar will be equal to 6b. Suppose when j is equals to 1, then delta nu bar is equals to 10b. Okay, so this is calculated based on this equation. And when j is equals to 2, so here take j as 2, then delta nu bar will become 14b. And when j is equals to 3, delta nu bar will be equal to 18b. So when a molecule is subjected to a strong external electric field, that field will distort the molecule's electron charge distribution to induce a small dipole moment which is proportional to the electric field. So therefore, if E is a static laboratory field, the induced dipole may interact with light in the normal manner and transition can occur. However, if the external field is due to an intense beam of light, then this is a second order process, and since the light first creates the dipole and then interacts with it, so transitions created in this manner will be very weak and observable. So this is what the rotational Raman spectrum experimental speaks about. So hence the Raman lines are formed at 6b, 10b, 14b, 18b, etc. and it is separated by 4b. So these lines are called as anti-Stokes lines. Similarly, when delta j is equals to 2, that is minus 2, so delta nu bar will be equal to minus into 4j plus 6. When j is equals to 0, it becomes minus 6b. When j is equals to 1, it becomes minus 10b. When j is equals to 2, it becomes minus 14b. And when j is equals to 3, so delta nu bar will be equal to minus 18b. So Raman lines are formed at minus 6b, minus 10b, minus 14b, minus 18b, etc. and it is separated by 4b. So these lines are called as Stokes lines. So in this way, as I said in the beginning, so all the linear molecules which are anisotropically polarizable and they can give a rotational Raman spectrum. So those which are IR inactive, so due to the absence of change in dipole moment, so they are Raman active. So that is why we can observe rotational Raman spectra in the homonuclear molecules also, like nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen and etc. So this is how we are going to understand a rotational Raman spectrum. And next is about vibrational Raman spectrum. So the selection rule for pure vibrational Raman spectrum is delta alpha, which is equals to 0, and delta nu or delta V is equals to plus or minus 1. The corresponding spectral line is called as fundamental vibrational line. So in addition to this, overtones also occur due to the anharmonic vibrations, for which delta V is equals to plus or minus 2 or plus or minus 3, etc. The energy of vibrational energy levels in terms of wave number is given by, so nu bar, which is equals to V plus half into epsilon E minus V plus half into the whole square epsilon E x E. So this is the expression. So although transition between V is equals to 0 and 1 and 2 and 3 are allowed, the main vibrational transition is between V is equals to V's vibrational transition here, V is equals to 0 and V is equals to 1, and the energy levels, because V is equals to 0 is the most populated. So therefore we are going to get delta V is equals to minus 1. So for the transition from V is equals to 1 to V is equals to 0, the level in the ground state will take up the form. So delta nu bar is equals to 1 plus half into epsilon E minus 1 plus half the whole square epsilon E x E. Okay, and minus 0 plus half. So here I have substituted the value which I have taken the transition from V is equals to 1 to V is equals to 0. that is in the level which is in the ground state. So upon simplification, so we are going to get delta nu bar is equals to minus 1 and delta nu bar which is equals to minus epsilon E into 1 minus 2xe. So this is what is a vibrational spectrum, that is vibrational Raman spectrum. So how the vibrational Raman spectrum experiment is understood? So this vibrational Raman spectrum is also called as pure vibrational Raman spectroscopy. So here the polarizability of the molecule must change as the molecule vibrates. For all diatomic molecules, the interaction between the electrons and the nuclei changes as the molecule vibrates. That means a change in polarizability will lead all diatomic molecules and homonuclear and heteronuclear molecules to undergo vibrational Raman active spectroscopy. So analysis becomes much more difficult for polyatomic molecules which need to apply group theory to decide if a particular vibrational mode is Raman active. The classical description of vibrational Raman spectroscopy is qualitatively similar to that presented above for rotational Raman spectroscopy. In this case, the vibration of the molecular bond is accompanied by a periodic stretching and compression of the electron distribution, which gives an oscillation of the component of the molecular polarizability along the direction of the electric field. So in this way, we are going to understand the vibrational Raman spectroscopy or Raman spectrum. So I am going to stop it here, and in my next class, we will understand about rotational vibrational Raman spectrum. Thank you, dear students.